Thank you very much for your purchase. I have the download page displayed on the screen at the moment. Each one of these underlined items represents a link where you can download particular files from. And of course, we have the link to the video which you're now viewing. I firstly wanted to discuss the installation of the 4 EAs. So what we'll do is bring up the EAs already downloaded. Now here I have all these hyperlinks downloaded, and these are all the files that are a result of those hyperlinks. The 4eas.zip is here. What I'm going to do is click on that to show you the file structure within the zip file. We have 3 subdirectories, and these contents of the files on these 3 subdirectories will go into the corresponding subdirectories within MetaTrader 4. So we'll go ahead and extract all these files. So just click on extract, accept the default values, and we end up with the actual directory. So if we look in here, we've got the experts files within that directory, and the presets, which are the actual set files. And we'll go back one step, and of course the templates for the actual charts on which we're going to attach the expert advisors. So if we now go into MetaTrader 4, if we click on File, Open Data Folder, you'll see the corresponding directories within MetaTrader 4. Now initially we have a templates directory displayed here. That's where the contents of the templates directory in the download goes. And if we click on MQL4, we've got a presets directory for the set files, and of course the experts directory for the expert advisors. So they are the 3 files which correspond to the downloads, and you need to place the contents of the downloaded files into these directories. We just jump back to the download page again. We have these 3 data packs here. Now I just wanted to explain a little bit about the data packs. The data packs consist of what are called FXT files. FXT files are the file format that MetaTrader uses to process tick data during backtesting and optimization. So what I've provided you with are the actual tick data files set up in a readable form for you to use within MetaTrader 4. There's no conversions necessary. The links down the bottom, of course, relate to, if you don't have these FXT data files, how you can create them yourself. And of course, as I mentioned in the promotional email, giving you the tools to create your own FXT files without the use of third-party commercial programs represents a substantial saving for the future. In fact, it's well worth the $40 that you've just paid to receive these 4 expert advisors. So I'll cover these later on, but we'll just for the moment cover the data packs. If we go back to our file structure, as I said, I'd already downloaded these zip files. They are quite large as a matter of interest. You can see that they're, even in their zip file form, they're around about 150 megabytes in size. But of course what we need to do is to unzip these. So if you click on any of these, we'll just use GBP USD as an example. I'll click on that one. You can see that the underlying file is an FXT file. So if we just go ahead and click on extract all, accept the defaults, and do the extraction, just move this over. It's only a couple of seconds and you will have the fully extracted FXT file. So you can now see that we have the FXT file. We go back to, we need to copy and paste that within into MetaTrader. So I'll just do a right click and do copy. And we'll go back to MetaTrader, File, Open Data Folder. Now, each one of these FXT files goes into the tester subdirectory and then into the history subdirectory underneath tester. And if we were to right click and paste, it would be transferred. I already got these files in here, so there's that GBP USD 60.fxt. As you can see, it's quite a large file. So by the time you get all your 1 hour files in there, you've got 1, 2 and 3 files, all over 1 gigabyte in size. So tick data files are quite large, but of course they provide that great accuracy in back testing. So back into MQL4 again, sorry, MetaTrader 4 again. I'm just going to bring this up into the video. So we're displaying just one simple chart, and it's a GBP USD hourly chart. It's a plain chart. There are no indicators attached to this. So what we need to do in order to use the expert advisors effectively is to use the templates that I've supplied you with. So what I'm going to do is right click. We're going to load in one of those templates which would have been placed into the templates directory. Now this particular one we're going to use as an example. We'll use the RSI template. So if I click on RSI, you can see now that we have an RSI indicator added to that chart. So we now have a chart ready to receive an expert advisor. Now in our situation, we're going to, for the example, load in the expert advisor which was placed into the expert advisor subdirectory. And in this particular one, they were prefixed with AT, being short for Agility Trader. I'm selecting the AT RSI file. Drag that onto the chart. When it drags onto the chart, the inputs window will open. And these are the standard pre-programmed inputs. What we need to do, because I've supplied you with actual set files, is to load in the relative set file by using the load button. So for each one of your expert advisors, you'll be using the load button. It will automatically go to the presets directory, and we're going to reference the set files that I provided. Now in this particular case, it's a GPP 60 minutes RSI set file. So that's the set file that we're going to click on to load. And you can see that as soon as I press load, or OK I should say, a magic number will change from the default of 456300 to a particular number, and I've given each set file a unique number because you do need a unique number for each particular set file so that they don't conflict with each other. So the other interesting aspects of this is that this has pre-optimized settings that I have run in advance for you, and in this particular case for the GBP USD 1 hour set file, you've got RSI periods of 14, top level 75, bottom level 35. So just take note of those three numbers there. We're going to click on OK. Now if you have auto trading enabled, you should see this smiley face with the smile showing automatically. If you didn't have auto trading enabled, that would be a reverse smile. In other words, it would be a frown. If you see the frown there, it's an indication that you don't have auto trading enabled. So this EA is ready to run at this stage. We've got the smiling face. So this being the weekend, of course, there's no trading taking place, but come Monday morning, this file will continue and it'll be monitoring the cross. Now, I said that we needed to take note of those parameters. I'm going to go in here. We're going to change the RSI parameters for this chart. If we right click on the indicator, go to the indicators list, relative strength index, we'll edit that. We know it's a 14 period for this particular chart, but we do need to change the levels. I'm going to double click that, change that to 35 and change the top level to 75. Click on OK, close, and you can see now that we've got the 75 and the 35 level. So this particular EA is waiting for the RSI line to cross through the 35 level for a buy trade, or to cross down through the 75 level for a sell trade. When that event happens, the EA automatically places a trade. So that procedure would be repeated for each of the 12 each of the 12 set files, each having their own chart. So basically start with a clean chart for each set file, load in the template, load in the EA. When you drag the EA on there, remember you will have to press the load button to bring in the particular set file from the presets directory. And providing you have enabled expert advisors, you will get that smiley face. Now, just a word of caution that if you've never used a set file before, you will have to enable the running of expert advisors. So to do that, you would go through Tools, Options, Expert Advisors. Just make sure you have that box there ticked, and tick those two boxes as well. So the three boxes on the left hand side all need to be ticked, and providing you've done that and pressed OK, this auto trading button being depressed will now allow the EAs to run. I think that just about covers the installation and running of the EAs. What I do intend to do now is discuss the creation of FXT files. Now, as I mentioned to you, in this particular scenario, you have FXT files already provided to you, but in the future, as you optimize each month, you will need to update your data files. Now, the easiest way to do that is to use, of course, the tick data downloader and then the CSV to FXT. So we'll just go back to our web page. I'm going to show you the link. If you click on tick data downloader, you will be taken to this page here. Now, this is simply a registration page for the free download of tick downloader. What I'm going to do now is just start up that tick downloader and let you have a look at the program itself. So I'll see if I can find that within my own file system, and just bear with me for a second. And it's just starting up now. So this is tick downloader starting. Just bring this into the video screen. I've already used this before, and you will see some dates out here, but when you use it for the first time, you'll probably have to set up your dates. Now, what this program does is it goes to the Duca's Copy website and downloads tick data from that particular site and places it in a file directory of its own making, which we are later going to access with the CSV to FXT to create our FXT files. So just a couple of housekeeping items relating to downloading data. Firstly, be aware of the settings button up the top here. That simply describes the directory under which all this tick data which is being downloaded will go to. And the other thing, of course, is to click on this one here to set the range of data that you want to download. So if we click on change download range, you will get from and to dates for you to download your data. So for argument's sake, you're starting next year, you would set it at the 1st of January 2017. The to date will automatically default to the current date that you're carrying out the download action. But tick data downloader will incrementally add extra data. You don't need to download what you've already downloaded previously, and you can see, if I just cancel that, you can see in mine at the moment I have tick data already downloaded up until the 1st of December, but it is automatically set the dates from the 2nd of December down to the current date, which is the 17th of December. So once you set the initial date range, in the future it will just simply automatically set it to from the last downloaded date to the current day. So that download range is the thing that you would set initially. And of course, to start your download, you would need to select the particular data that you want to download. We're only working with the 3 major currencies here. Look, you can work with whatever currencies you like. Just a word of caution, just be quite aware of some of the crosses, because the cost of trading is quite a significant factor in the overall profitability, and that is the reason that I've deliberately selected 3 major currencies. With 12 set files, you have enough trading going on to keep you quite occupied in terms of activity. Once you start working with the crosses, as I said, the spreads go up, so the cost of trading goes up. So just to surmise, once you've downloaded all this data, it will go into that directory that it will default to its own directory, which is under tick downloader, and it's called tick data. It will go into that directory. What we are now going to do is access that data and convert it to FXT files. So we'll just back out of tick data downloader now, and I'm going to bring up the script file that we haven't actually discussed that, but I should do that at the moment. I'll just discuss this CSV to FXT file. If we go back to where we were, I'll just find out where we were, expert advisors. No, that's not it. Just bear with me while I go back to where we started from. Right, here we are here, and one of the links on that download page was the CSV to FXT. When you click on that, you will receive a file which is this one here, CSV to FXT.zip. If you click on that zip file and just do the extraction accepting the defaults, you will get an MQL4 directory. Underneath that you get a directory called scripts, and this is the particular files that we're interested in, CSV2 FXT.exe4, and of course the source file MQ4. Now these files go into the MetaTrader platform. Just move that back onto the screen, and if we go through File, Open Data Folder, MQL4, you'll see a script subdirectory there. Now if I just click on that now, you'll see my 2 files already in there. So that's where those files go. Now these 2 files are going to be dragged onto a chart in a moment, but I just wanted you to be aware of the CSV to FXT EX4. So we'll just go ahead and go back to MetaTrader. I'm going to just close off Expert Advisors, and we've got scripts. If it's not open, just click on the little plus sign down the bottom. And just moving this up a bit for you, you can see the CSV to FXT file here. Now that needs to be loaded onto a chart for this script file to run. I'm just going to change this template because the way the CSV to FXT has been set up, it works best on a chart with a black background. So I'll just load in a template that I have, which gives us a black background. I'm going to drag that onto a chart. I've just dragged it onto this chart. It's a GBP USD hour 1 chart. And the minute you drag it on the chart, you have an input box showing. Now, a couple of significant things about this input box, and this is where most people run into problems, is that there are a number of inputs that we need to take care of. Firstly, the CSV file name. Now, this CSV file name references a particular directory under which your CSV file must be placed. Now, if you were to remember, and you may need to pause and rewind this video a number of times just to fully digest all this information I'm giving you, but if you can remember the tick data downloader, I did make reference to the fact that all the tick data goes into a tick data downloader subdirectory. Now, the particular file that has been created in the tick data subdirectory, when you do the export of the tick file, the contents of that tick data file needs to go into a particular directory within the MQL file structure. So once again, if we were go back to, just drag this down a bit, I'm going to cancel that and just make reference to this file structure. Just go to File, Open Data Folder, MQL4. Take note of this directory here, Files, because that is the only place that you can place any files that need processing by CSV to FXT. Now I'm just going to have to jump back just for a second. I have to apologise for this, that we didn't discuss the export of this downloaded data. And I'll need to go back and discuss this in a little bit more detail. So we're going back to Tick Data Downloader once again. And just starting up that program, because I just realised that I didn't discuss the export of your downloaded tick data. So here we are, we're back in the tick downloader. After you've completed a download, you need to export the data. So the raw tick file goes into a tick downloaded subdirectory, but we need to access that raw tick data and export it to what's called a CSV file, comma separated value files. Now before you press the export button, you need to configure. And this is the tricky part. We at this stage are only interested in converting tick data. You can see tick data is already grayed out. We're not interested in the history files. These history files only give you a 90% backtesting quality. We're interested in the tick data. So first thing you need to do is that you can leave that at all data, or whatever date you wish to do the export. I generally just leave it on all data because you're going to reference a file which has all your data in there. The time zone. Now this time zone relates to your own MetaTrader 4 platform. Mine, for me specifically, I'm using IFC Markets. The time zone that they use is UTC plus 2 hours. And of course, being in Eastern Europe, daylight saving is automatically checked. You need to select this remove weekend data. So if it's unticked, you've got to tick that. So that just removes all the data over the weekend, which of course is static. It doesn't change over the weekend. We need to tick this automatic export. So we're going to export the raw ticks file into a CSV file. You don't need to tick any of these boxes. This one here is grayed out because it's going to do that. When you click on OK here, you've now set up the raw tick data file to be exported to a CSV tick data file. Having set up through the configure hyperlink, you can now click on export. So that's a little bit that I neglected to tell you earlier on relating to tick data. Now, having had all that exported, we need to go and access that data and to put it into that file subdirectory within MQL4. So we'll just show you that in action. If I can bring up a file, I'm going to go into Documents, I'm sorry, Drive D mine was, and it was Tick Downloader, Tick Data, and if you look in this tick data file, you'll see that I've already done this process of the export. You'll see GPB USD ticks, and I've got no weekends. Now that's the raw file with weekends in it. This is the one here that we need to place in the file subdirectory within GPB within MetaTrader 4. So I'm going to do a, you would right click that, do a copy, and we go back to MetaTrader 4. We go into File, go into Open Data Folder, go into MQL4, the Files subdirectory, and we would be pasting that information into this subdirectory. Now I've already done this, and it's just saving a little bit of time. If you look down here, if I can find this for you, here's a file here. This isn't the, this is not the correct one, but it serves as an example. That's the one with the weekends, but that's the one, and we'd be pasting the ticks no weekends file, but that's a similar file there for the purpose of the exercise. That will suffice. So what I would do is we'll go ahead and actually I think it might be better if we went ahead and did the actual paste of the one that we had. Now I don't know that I did a copy of it before, so look, we'll just use this one as an example. This is a file here, and we'll take note of the name GPP_USD underscore, let's get away from that, underscore tick.csv, and we'll use that as an example. So back here to the CSV to FXT. The name of the file is GBP USD underscore tick.csv. Make sure that you get that file specification exactly right, because it won't work if you don't get the file specification exactly right. There's a file specification. We don't need to create history files for tick data, so you can change that to no or false. So the name of the file, changing that to false. Using the real spread, the tick data does create real spread information, so we're going to change that to true, so it's the third change. And a little bit further down we've got, what do we want? Well, look, for this particular, these EAs, we only need the H1FXT file, so we need to set this to true. Now, in summary, 4 changes on the input screen. Nominate the file name exactly, change the true to false on history, creating history files, and change the false to true for the spread. And in our particular case, we're just going to create the R1 FXT file. Once you've done all those things, if you click on OK, all being well, and we've done the file name correctly, it's just given me a message here that that file already exists because I've previously worked with this particular data, but we're just going to go ahead and override it just to show you the exercise. So I'm going to answer yes. And you see up here immediately we get a percentage completed sign, thing. Now it's going to take about 10 minutes to do, but basically what that is doing, it's creating an FXT file which we would reference in backtesting and optimization. So look, I'm just going to let that go ahead. I'll just show you a little bit about backtesting and optimization. So if we click on View, Strategy Tester, this is your backtesting. Strategy Tester is where you do your backtesting and optimization. We're going to select as a strategy the Agility Trader RSI file. So that's the selection there. You'll need a double click. The symbol's GPP_USD. We're using the every tick model. Click on the use date, and I said we use just the last 3 months, so in our particular case we're going to, and I've got it pre-selected, be the 1st of September to the end of November. Now, having done that and having already selected the expert advisor, when we click on expert properties, if we click on the inputs tab, you can see that what we have is nothing has been highlighted and just the standard setting. So we need to load the particular set file that I provided you, and in this case it's a GPB RSI 60 set file. Once we load that and press OK, just coming back to that, you can see now that we have a number of boxes ticked. Now these tick boxes represent items that are going to be optimized, and I've preset the start and stop and step variables. So we can look at equity percentage. Now it doesn't have to be necessarily 2%, and when you do run these optimizations you might find some situations where 0.5% produces the greatest probability, but the concept of optimization is that you're stepping through these figures from 0.5 to 2% in 0.5% increments. Stop loss we're optimizing between 20 and 60, same for take profit. The RSI periods optimizing between 8 and 16 and steps of 2. The levels, the top and bottom levels, we're optimizing across down through between 60 and 80 in steps of 5, and bottom level between 20 and 40 in steps of 5. So that's what optimization is all about. It's doing a discovery for each particular currency pair of the optimum figures that work over that 3-month time period that we've nominated. Now look, for these optimizations to take place, they're going to take a couple of hours, so we're not going to run through that because I've provided you with the optimized figures already. So that's basically how you would do an optimization. You load in the set file by clicking on the load button. Once you've done that, you've got these figures already set up for any future optimization. You can just click on OK, providing you have that box there ticked. When you click on Start, it will automatically go through and optimize those figures in the steps that we mentioned. What we're going to do is deselect optimization, and we're going to just run through a back test. Now, all the time in the background here we have that file running, which is being set up for FXT, the CSV to FXT. I'll just close this all for a second. It's still 61%, but I just wanted to briefly touch on the fact that when that finishes, the output will go into the directory that we mentioned before. It will go into this MQL files directory. And look, that at the moment is showing 0, but when that's completed, it will be roughly that size there. It's this particular file when it's finally created, which needs to be taken from the files subdirectory, and it needs to go back into the tester history subdirectory. So we're right back at the big terminal area, just selecting tester, and it needs to go into this history directory. Now I've already had one in there, and that's this one here. So just remember, at the completion of the conversion, needs to go from the files subdirectory under MQL4 into the tester directory and the history subdirectory of that. There's the file. As I said, it's still quite large, almost 1.4 gigabytes in size. So we'll just close that off. That's just a reference as to what you need to do in terms of housekeeping when you finish that conversion. So we just go back to where we were, opening strategy tester. It will remember where you were previously, luckily. And we have I'll just load them back in for the exercise, the GPB RSI set. Okay. Now, we're going to run the back test now, and we're assumed that that conversion has been done. All we need to do is make sure that that's not checked and click on the Start button. And this will now go through and do a complete back test. It's still fairly fast, even though it's using every tick data. With this now finished, if we were to look at the report, I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that this is completely green. Now, if that is completely green, you have excellent modeling quality. Also, no chart errors. Just note here that you're going to have an in stroke A instead of a 99%. Now, one of the legacies of using the free tools to convert to FXT, that is tick data, is that we don't get the 99% showing there. But rest assured that this is 99% modelling quality, and that is evidenced by a completely green bar below it. No mismatch chart areas. We know it's tick data because we've got 25.2 million odd ticks that we've just processed, so we know that we've processed ticks. Let's just have a quick look at the graph. There's your graph over the last 3 months. Down the bottom here, because we're using a wager increase scenario, you can see that with losing wages, the wager increases progressively, wager size is progressively increasing. Of course, once you have a winning wager, as that one was, it reverts back to the minimum again. This wager increase option simply increases the wages. I have pre-capped it at a maximum of 20% of equity use as a safeguard. And there is a link discussing lot size on the promotional email that I sent you. I know this has been a fairly long video. I think we've discussed in detail quite a good deal, and please go back and rewind and rerun any areas that you're not entirely clear on. It covers the scenario of using the expert advisors with the included set files. At this stage, you don't need to do any of the converting to FXT because I have provided those files as a download. But in the future, I do mention in the email that here's the prompt to move the FXT file to the tester history subdirectory. So we could just answer yes to that. I won't go ahead and do it because I've already done it previously. In the future, as I said, you will have to do your own optimizations to keep those expert advisors up to date. If you don't do that, it's no use running the expert advisors with the set files that I provide in the future. Expert advisors have a limited shelf life. What I am telling you is that for them to be relevant in the future, you will need to keep the optimizations up to date. Always use the last 3 months of data and do that on a monthly basis. So that's where your tick data downloader and your CSV to FXT come into play. We're only using 3 major currency pairs. There's nothing to stop you using other currency pairs. Similarly, I've only used our hourly charts for the expert advisors. It's your call. You can use whatever time period you like, but you will need to redo your backtesting and optimizations if you're going to experiment with other time periods. Be very aware of an increased number of trades. Say if you're using a 5-minute file, will bring out a scenario where you have an increased number of commissions, either through spread or flat commission charges. These are the things that really eat into your profitability, and a lot of people don't fully understand just how much the cost of trading affects your bottom line. Look, thank you very much for your participation. I do realise it's a fairly long video. Carefully absorb the updating of the data, which is the latter part of the video. And if you have any queries, send me an email. The original email did come from, you will get my email address from the source of the original promotional email. Look, thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you.